Hi guys, this is Amanda Nardozzi. Thanks for hopping into my channel here. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of intuitive astrology on the new moon in Taurus, which I'm very excited to do. We're talking about it for a little bit. So when I do intuitive astrology, so what I basically do is I pull the chart from that specific point in time where the new moon is at its max, the full moon is at its peak. And that is the time that I use. The location that I'm using is my own city, Pittsburgh. So it is like an EST time. It's going to be different depending on where you're at in the world. Just take this as a general reading, a general energy. You can pull up your own chart if that's something you're interested in to try to compare and see what the transit is like for you. But basically, along with like oracle pools and tarot pools, which we will be doing at the end of this video, pulling the chart, I always use the new moons and full moons. I always feel like it's a poignant time. So that energy that we pull at that time is the strongest around the few days surrounding the new moon and the full moon event. And then I always use those energies as direction for the next 2 weeks until the next new moon or full moon happens. So in this case, we're starting with the new moon in Taurus, and then it will be the full moon in a later sign 2 weeks from now, I believe on the 25th. So that being said, specifically, I'm going to give you specific times of when I pulled this chart, and then you can go ahead and pull from wherever. It's like I said, it's going to be May 7th, May 8th, depending on where you're at in the world and how you encounter this energy. So the houses will look a little different because the houses are about the time of day. They will change and rotate, I think, every 2 hours in the day. The signs and planets, I do believe, are somewhat similar. The degrees might be different depending on your location, but that being said, you can see how that affects your chart by pulling it up, pulling up your location and time. But I will be reading and then also channeling some collective messages through here. So while we will be looking at aspects today, we will be looking at planets, their relationship in the houses. So at this particular point, when the new moon is at its peak, it does fall on particular the planets and the signs do fall in particular houses, and I do feel like those are magnified for the next 2 weeks. So my chart is for May 7th, 11:22 p.m. The location that I'm pulling from is Pittsburgh, PA, because that's my city. But this should be like a general EST time. So I do believe the chart is similar if you are EST. But that being said, regardless, the energy should be somewhat similar depending on where you're at in the world. So let's just get into it. So let's start, because I do have some things just intuitively that are screaming at me. We will be talking about Lilith today because Lilith is just, I don't know, it's just burning to the forefront. It seems like the most important. I do want to talk a little bit about the sun and moon first before we dive into Lilith, but it's just, it's screaming. So we might do that first, depending. And we also have Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's fun because we all love Jupiter. It's the good fortune, good luck, expansion planet. I love Jupiter. And Jupiter transits signs every year. So we are approaching its final lap through Taurus. Its final, well, I shouldn't say lap. I should say its final, it's just going to sit in the energy of Taurus for a little bit, but it is transiting into Gemini at the end of May. So that's like a yearly event. Very exciting. So I do want to look very closely at Jupiter. We will have a moment here in the new moon where we can look at Jupiter, and also I think the full moon on the 25th we'll be able to look at Jupiter, but that will be its last time sitting in Taurus before going into Gemini season, I believe on the 28th. Don't mind the little noises here and there. We are in the little ferret den. So we got fun little ferrets running around here, having a good time, getting into their crinkle tunnels and such. So let's start with the sun here. We have the sun in Taurus, obviously Taurus season. So if you watched my last astrology video, we talked about the energy of Taurus. And we talked about specifically what was being channeled through was focusing on the physical senses, and that was enough to bring us to the present. It was very important that we stay present at this time period. I do feel like there are some like fluctuations in the energy around us. This is the energy of change that I'm feeling. I feel some type of transformation for a lot of you, but staying grounded and really embracing those what's been mentioned about Taurus. So for a refresher for people who are new to the video, Taurus is focusing on the material, focusing on the sensual. So we are focusing on all of our senses, and I would say that out of all of the signs, Taurus is the greatest at keeping present. With Taurus, they also deal with finances. So Taurus is very, because they deal with the material world, it does carry a financial energy with this. So a lot of you could be getting your finances in order. But the sun is how we bring ourselves, how we create, how we show up to the world. It could be, I know some people say the sun is how the rest of the world sees us, but I do believe that the sun is creation. It is ourself. That is who we are, like what we exhibit to the rest of the world, how we show up, for ourselves, how we show up to other people. The sun is just how we shine, the self, how we are, right? And it's like when you're putting your best self forward, this is your sun. This is what I feel. And there are lots of different ways to interpret the sun, but with the sun being in Taurus, it's almost like a light is shined on all of the planets surrounding it. It is, specifically when it's in Taurus, and I see the sun is also in our 5th house. So it's mainly about, if this is on a financial vein, it could be, a lot of you could be budgeting with Taurus in this Taurus season of trying to budget for more fun, because the 5th house does deal with a lot more fun. It deals with creativity. It deals with like passion, sex. It deals with like a lot of like the fun. I'm not going to say trivial because that's not the case. I know sometimes people put the word trivial to the 5th house. It could be like trivial matters or small problems that we just need to fix. But the 5th house is more of a fun, lighthearted energy. This is our play. This is our casual fun, right? This is our creativity. And when we have sun in that house, it's almost like, what kinds of things can we create? What kinds of things do we have fun with? This is, for those of you who are familiar with the tarot, this gives very 6 of Cups energy of like, what can I give to the world? What can I explore? A lot of you could be falling back on some nostalgic things, or a lot of nostalgic play could be very beneficial for you at this time, just to enjoy. It's almost like if you're in EST time too, it's like when the summertime is coming, or when it would be time. At least I'm in like the northern part of EST, so it's like when the sun is coming out and as things are growing, right? But even if you're anywhere else in the world, regardless of the weather, it's definitely one of those times where, playing, you might be having fun, like playing in things that you used to do as a child, things that you might consider juvenile or childish now that you might be a little bit older, but this is going back to our childlike roots, talking to our inner child more, especially when it comes to Taurus. How do we bring that part of ourselves to the physical? How do we bring parts of that to our world, our material world? How, in what ways can we honor that in the material world? Some of you could be putting finances towards like if you used to paint a lot as a kid, or if you used to do a lot of drawings, maybe you're taking painting classes now. Maybe like some type of extension of what you used to do as a child, like you were investing money into now. And then for a lot of you, it's, it's just needing to just make your fun tangible, like needing to bring more fun into your life, right? So you also have the moon in Taurus. So I'm going to circle these on my chart as we go. You also have the moon in Taurus, and this, we talked about the new moon in Taurus. The new moons deal with fresh new beginnings. Hi, Oliver. Do you want to say hi? I have my little albino ferret coming to say hello. He wants to know what I'm doing because he's been sleeping this whole time. Hi. So sorry about that. We have the new moon in, what are you doing? We have the new moon in Taurus, and the new moon indicates new beginnings. It's a fresh new energy, things that you want to start. You'll be able to you'll be able to start things a little bit more easily. We can start things at any point, regardless of what the astrological energy is. Yes, even during Mercury retrograde, I'm a firm believer that we create our own energy. We can transmute any type of energy to create at any point during astrology. I don't think astrology should inhibit us at all. But I think that astrology can act as a guide for when we could feel our best, So with the new moon, it brings pretty good energy. It brings the energy of, I don't know, I can't help but feel like peace is coming through. Like there's just some type of peace, especially when the sun and the moon are here. The sun deals with a lot of external things, and then the moon deals with our inner world and how we show up in things like our dream state, our emotions, our intuitive hits and feelings. When they're both in the same sign, especially now that they're both in the same house too, they do almost feel... It almost feels like things are peaceful and in harmony, especially when the sun and the moon are together. It's like your inner and outer world kind of match to some degree. And it's almost like you might be experiencing more synchronicities around this time. Just what I'm feeling channeled through is that because things are almost mirrored from the outside and inwardly, and it might even be only for like a small blip in time, but in comparison to like the rest of the week or the rest of the month or whatever. But it's almost like there are lots of synchronicities that could be presented to you at this time. Very aligned action that you might have had an influx of dreams if you're somebody who's intuitive and communicates with your guides that way. You might have had like loved ones on the other side pass on signs to you that kind of lead to a trail of what to do next. And it almost feels like things are falling into place. So this is kind of like a more aligned vision that I'm getting. This could be a new material start for some of you if you are looking for a new job, or if you're looking for new opportunities for financial growth, then this would be a great time to start exploring that, or to look into this field a little bit more. New financial opportunities. This is where like that collective energy lends a hand in that. Lilith is still kind of screaming at me, to be honest. So we're gonna we're gonna pull up Lilith. We're gonna pull up Lilith. Lilith was sitting in Virgo 2 weeks ago as well. Lilith kind of sits in the signs for a deal of time, but it was at 22 degrees before. It's at 24 degrees now. But it's in the 9th house. So let's talk about it. Lilith deals with a lot of the taboo. It deals with a lot of like a shadow parts of ourselves. I'm hearing that there were concerns. So intuitively what's being channeled through is that there are concerns specifically related to our habits. Virgo carries the energy of, especially in like the 6th house energy as well, dealing with habits, dealing with work. But Virgo deals with harmony. Virgo deals with needing peace. And while we have like some type of sense of aligned peace with the sun and the moon, or it almost feels like things are syncing up, or like it's almost like if you don't feel that peace, it's almost like it's starting to, and you're seeing some of the signs line up, and you're like, oh, and it's almost like you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, like things are going to be okay. Now the Lilith here, it's almost like there's especially with it being in the 9th house of like higher philosophy, it's like higher education, philosophy thinking, some of you might be higher philosophy thinking. Some of you might actually be doubting this aligned thing. Some of you might be doubting it and questioning it, like, is this the right move? I see lots of these signs and synchronicities, but is that really where I want to go? And it's almost like you're questioning the piece. You're offering a little bit of resistance or tension to it. It kind of makes me want to look and see like the aspects of Lilith. I see, and I see a lot of acceptance. We have a lot of trines in our Lilith, and trines have to do with acceptance for better or for worse. And we have it lined up with the sun and the moon. So trines are okay for suns and moons. When compared with Lilith, it's almost like we are accepting shadow parts of ourselves that are being brought up because they're like, we feel supported. A lot of signs and synchronicities, a lot of guidance, or we see the light at the end of the tunnel, or we feel hope. There's like this hope being exuded, or you're seeing the energy fall into place for you. And it's almost like Lilith being that shadow side, maybe you're like a little bit more acceptive of your shadow side, or you're more acceptive of the cons of a situation just because you're opening yourself up to opportunity. For some of you, this lines up with financial opportunities. Maybe you need to be a little bit more flexible and you're just accepting things as they come. Now, there does call into question, because there is a trine with Jupiter as well, and Jupiter is expansion. Now, it's almost like you are accepting ways that you can expand, even if the thing that you're going for, the next step for you, might not be exactly how you want it to look. It's almost like you're approaching it with this level of acceptance, because you're like, I've seen the alternative of not going through with this step, and stagnation just does not work for me. It's like you're feeling like I need to get pulled out. If you were in stagnation for a while, it's almost like you're stepping out of that and you're like, no thanks. So you could be feeling an energy of just acceptance towards all of this. Some of you, I do sense for some of you, there's a challenge though, because Lilith does present the shadow self, the thinking, like the overthinking, the overanalyzing. It does present this devil-like energy from the tarot of feeling trapped in a certain circumstance, or feeling like there's some type of control in relation to this. It's almost like you may be trying to control your situation a little bit too much, or harness too much control over things. But I do see with the trines, it's almost like the challenge that's going to be presented to you within the next 2 weeks. And it's not even so much as a challenge. I just see you kind of like embracing life as it is in certain aspects. So in terms of how you are presenting yourself, in terms of your creations, how you're showing up, you're finding a little bit more of a balance, the intuition that's coming in. So is this aligned action? I do believe, like I said, because I did say for better or for worse. So before, even though you might have had like a powerful motivation, you might have felt, okay, this is the path, this is what it's going to look like. It never really works like that. There's never a distinct line to get to where we want to go. There's always these miraculous and divine detours we have to take in order to get to where we want to go. It doesn't always look like a step-by-step method that we try to, you know, what do they say? Like, you make a plan and God laughs. That's exactly what, you know, is happening right now. But I do feel a sense of acceptance from you. I feel a sense of acceptance and allowance from the universe. I feel like overall, like I said, for better, I do feel like it's a for better. And I wouldn't say it's quite for worse, because I think if I asked the end, like maybe like the energy that you used to present, but there's like this previous energy of, you know, no, I'm very hard lined. These are my steps. I have 1 to 10 all planned out, and you can't change my mind. I'm not settling for anything less. And in some cases, that's amazing. Keep doing you, but it's almost like sometimes it impacts your growth if you are fighting for something very concrete and linear and not really allowing the universe to mold you like clay. Because like it's almost like you have a general clump that you're working with, and it's almost like spirit wants to help you work out the details, and they want to help you get the details right on the eyes, the hands, especially if you're into art. Like, you know, the hands are especially difficult. My few days in art, I'm not like an art major or anything. I don't, you know, do like clay or like painting or any type of sculpting, but hands are always like, they are renowned for being the hardest thing in art to do, to emulate, to come across as realistic. You know, look, all those fingers, right? So they want to help you with those details, and it's not that you can't do it alone. It's just, why would you want to? Spirit wants to help you co-create, right? And that would be ultimately be the goal, is to help, like, you know, is try to get into like a co-creative relationship with spirit, so that we are not hardcore focused on this is exactly what needs to happen, right? But allowing spirit to kind of, like, it's like a back and forth type of thing. This is what I want. Spirit, show me how to get there, or present me with opportunities to explore. And I don't know who needs to hear this message, but it's actually coming through specifically. It's coming through with this reading, and it makes me share. Because I know some people have an aversion to things like spirit guides, and they like, maybe they'll just talk to their angels or loved ones on the other side, and that's fine. But something that I've learned, and this is actually just a dream that I had last night. But you know, somebody had actually, like, they all of my dreams went quiet. And then someone said, let me go over what spirit guides do. So I said, okay. They showed me a table with a few cups. Okay. And these were like very tall brown cups. And they said that spirit pours the water. You choose. So they say, it kind of gave like a 4 of Cups type of energy of presenting you with different opportunities and you choosing. They actually told me specifically as a message for me, you know what you want. They said, you know what you want, but we're not going to tell you. So you said, you know what you want, so we're not going to tell you. We pour the water. Do you care about the cups? And I looked at the cups, and at first I was like, absolutely not. I care about the water in the cups. I care about the opportunity in the cups. I thought about it for a while, and the more I thought about it, the more I nitpicked and was like, I could probably, like, over time, like, you know, want to swap out the cups and, like, you know, dress it up a certain way, make it look different, you know. And Spirit said, follow your heart to choose. Follow your heart to choose. Because it really did only matter what was in the cup. I was just being particular because I'm a particular person. But just know that spirit guides, their role is to not give you the answers. Spirit's role is to not give you the answers. When you are co-creating with the universe, you are allowing for them to give you and send you more opportunities. Your heart knows. Your heart knows what it wants. So what I usually do is I sit with my options, each one individually, and I see how it feels. What images come to mind? What does it feel like in my heart? For some of you might feel it in your gut. That's another seat of your intuition. Some of you might feel a pressure in your head, but it might feel like a good thing. It might feel like a bad thing. It's going to be different for everyone. So you have to tune into your physical senses. And this is why I feel like it's important. Like Taurus season is incredibly important, especially now at this time, because connecting in the present moment, connecting with our material, and sometimes even stepping away from spirituality for a while and connecting with the physical and being in the present that helps us become so much more in tune with our intuition. Like you would not even, I don't even think, like, you would not even believe. Like, when you are connected with yourself in the present, then we are, like, you're being guided to be more in tune with your bodies now, so that you can intuitively deduce your next moves when the time comes. It's not stepping away. The material and the spiritual are not working against each other. We connect in the physical, and that helps us understand our body's signals, because that's what happens with our intuition. Is it signals to our body what feels right, what doesn't, what works for us for our next steps. And then when we tune into our body and we are very in touch and aware of our physical senses, that can help us better deduce where to move intuitively, because we are actively able to sense the intuition in our body. Does that make sense? That's why they say it's important to get grounded before you connect in the spiritual. That's why they say it's important to be physically grounded, because that is our physical body is our conductor for spiritual information. So we need to be in touch, in tune. We need to be here, rock solid in the physical to deal with it, okay? So that being said, I see Lilith presenting some type of resistance. I do see it speaking more of like the shadow self, the acceptance of the shadow self. And again, I just see a little bit of tension, but I feel like it's all up in the mind. I feel like it's a lot of, like, especially with the ninth house dealing with the mind, the education, the thinking, the philosophy. I see it being like a thinking issue of like, you know, it's almost like the concern starts in the mind, but I think spirit wants you to turn into your body a little bit more for this cycle and just fall into that acceptance that's presented with all of these trines here in Lilith, right? And it's interesting because we do have an opposition here with Lilith and Neptune. And the opposition, it's almost like, Neptune, especially, like, Neptune rules our intuition. And it also deals with physical aspirations or dreams that we have. Well, not in the physical, but things that we want to bring from heaven down to earth is what Neptune is concerned with. So our grandest dreams, our grandest visions, and things that we would love to bring down to earth, when it's almost like, excuse me, it's almost like there is a lack of acceptance when Lilith is opposing or in opposition. These two energies are still existing, but they are opposites. They're almost clashing. It's not quite as calling to action as a square would be, but there's something here in the opposition. It is serving a purpose, and it's not to question your path ahead. It is just to, it's almost like I'm hearing like it's to allow for space to grow. It's allow for space. It's trying to allow for that space of acceptance, but it does directly correlate with your goals, your ambitions, the things that you're dreaming, and also a little bit more of your intuition. So I'm seeing a reconnection to your intuition if you felt disconnected for a little bit, or if you've been connecting with the physical. I do see the start of some type of intuition happening. But that Lilith dealing with the shadow side, it's all in like the mind. I do feel like we have a lot of shadow work dealing with the mind, of like accepting that sometimes the mind just likes to stand in our way sometimes, just whether it be because it's something that the mind did before, or whether that's something that just, I don't know, I just feel like some of us deal with these mental habits or these mental blocks coming up. I don't want to call them blocks because I feel like any energy can be transmuted. But it is definitely something to work with, and it's something that is kind of allowed to stand in your way. Like, you kind of allow it to stand in your way. It is difficult to move through it. For a lot of you, I feel high achiever energy, but there is even the ability to achieve like very highly, even if you don't feel like that now. I feel like I'm dealing with somebody at their core who wants to have really high achievements. I'm hearing there's something about placements in your chart that are very important for this. So looking at your astrology chart and figuring out where, like, understanding some of your placements. There are lots of amazing websites for that, by the way, that actually break down. I use AstroSeek when I pull my charts, AstroSeek. But looking at your birth chart, you can figure out where your placements are, and they actually break it down, like the planets in the different houses and stuff, or the planets in relation to like the signs in the houses. Excuse me. That being said, let me look at some things. Let's talk about some things here. So we talked about Lilith. We talked a little bit about, did we talk about Jupiter? We talked about Jupiter being in harmony, I believe, because the conjunction with the sun and the moon, that's like offering the expansion, like in this piece, like as we are finding this peace and this harmony now, because our outer and inner world are aligned, it's almost like there is an expansion that is delivered with that energy. Let's see. I'm looking at last week, so I'm trying to see what all has moved. Pluto in Aquarius is just going to sit there for a while on 2 degrees, so that's nothing new. We're entering that spirituality age. I don't think that's intuitively, that's not really coming through as a very strong point. We do have a South Node in Libra. That's interesting because I can't remember if I said before if it was Virgo or Libra. Before this sign up here with Lilith. I think I said Libra, and I think I interpreted it as Virgo. So when Libra and Virgo, so if I said Libra, then I apologize. But Virgo is, for whatever reason, it's like the peace, harmony. This is like the energetic exchange too, like when we're talking with Virgo. So let me go back and talk about that for a little bit. Virgo and Lilith. I do feel like that is a peace and harmony issue. I do feel like, not an issue, but like finding peace and harmony with those shadow parts of ourselves. Virgo is talking about like the energetic exchange though, but I felt like it was mainly like a balance, like a peace and harmony that we were dealing with there. Even though Lilith is transiting away from Libra, there's still some type of balance and harmony with it. But there is, that's really the only thing. So with Virgo, there's an energetic exchange dealing with, because it's in the 9th house, dealing with the mind. So because Lilith is in the 9th house, it's just understanding that energetic exchange when that shadow self pops up and, in the mind and starts nagging at you and doing the self-doubts, and it's almost like cloaking the reality of the situation. Just understand that, like, you can turn off of that energy, or you can choose and you can tell it, hey, like, it's almost like you have an acceptance that it's there. So when dealing with the mind, when dealing with those neurological functions, it's okay to be like, hey, like, I'm accepting you as is, but I'm choosing not to believe that, or I know that's not a fact right now, because it's almost like you're feeling that energy of peace, you're feeling a harmony, or you see all those synchronicities. So even though there's doubting, there's a lot of thinking and going around in circles, just understand that there could be a challenge at this time, but learning to just accept it and have peace with it is going to help that energetic exchange for whatever it is that you do be more fruitful for you, because that thinking energy offers resistance. But I do want to talk about the South Node in like actual Libra, so the actual Libra state here. It's almost like that. So like the South Node, it's almost like dealing with past karmic. We're dealing with some past karmic things in relation to balance. And again, because it's in our 9th house, I do feel like for whatever reason it's coming through as thought energy, or in our relationship to grow as like learners and to heal. The 9th house does deal with, like I said, higher education. So expanding beyond our skill level, which is something that's happening with Jupiter anyway, especially when Jupiter enters Gemini, because Gemini, Mercury, dealing with like the 3rd house, the 9th house, like Gemini is kind of like expanding and being the forever student. So especially through like communication, with Jupiter being there, we are expanding those communications. We are expanding and taking in new information that can help us reset our reality to so that we can fulfill the goals and ambitions and dreams that we set in place for ourselves, the things that we want, right? So there's like a reset coming with that. But South Node is almost dealing with those karmic tendencies in relationship to our balance. So especially with them being within 10 degrees of one another, the South Node and Lilith, they are still affecting each other. So, there is like, it's almost like there's like a power play on them. So basically a lot of things that we talked about with Lilith is what's happening with the South Node is dealing with a lot of our issues of challenging harmony when it is present. So like just allowing things to be peaceful and accepting that and not letting the mind run us in circles. So that is something that we're dealing with the South Node. Let me look and see. Let me look at these. Travel down the chart here. I do like trying to see if there are any aspects that are imperative for us to look at this time. I do see the moon highlighted, the moon being in conjunction with the sun. We already talked about that, how like they are amplified by one another, like the outside, the inner world aligned. Saturn, let's talk about Saturn. So Saturn with the sun and the moon are both sextiled, and let me find Saturn in the chart. Saturn in Pisces This is third house. So let's talk about just that as a standalone. So Saturn in Pisces, you know, it's been in Pisces before. It moved about 2 degrees. I do believe that is like a yearly or every 2 year thing. I'll have to double check on that. But that is another one of those transits. Like a lot of these planets just take a while to get through the signs. But for whatever reason, like it's coming through with the third house of like affecting our communication, our verbal skills, the way that we express ourselves to other people. And these are also the words that we say to ourselves as well, that thought energy. And Saturn is almost like a very, it's interesting because you have Saturn in Pisces, and I do feel like those are two completely different energies, which is why Saturn returns are incredibly difficult for people. And because Saturn is in Pisces right now, I'm a Pisces moon and rising, so I'm currently going through my Saturn return. That offers areas of tension, huge major changes. So a lot of you with Pisces in your, like Pisces placements in your charts will be feeling like the Saturn, just as like a heads up. If you weren't already aware, you might be going through your Saturn return, or you might have just some tensions with Saturn right now if you do have Pisces in your chart. Like Pisces in like your big three. But Saturn deals with a very disciplined energy. So Saturn is also dealing with destruction. So destruction of things that don't serve us, or destruction. Basically, it's like the Tower card of in the tarot, things that need to fall. Pisces deals with mediumistic. It brings the energy of high intuition. It is the end of the zodiac. It is like the last part of the zodiac before we enter new beginnings in Aries. So there is some type of transformation in the interim between Pisces and Aries. But we talk about when Saturn is in Pisces, it almost brings this realism to this head in the clouds energy of Pisces. So it's almost like you might be feeling challenged, or it's almost like you're given a direction. So when sextiles are presented in the chart, these are opportunities that the universe is sending to you. This is almost kind of like, I would say like a lucky time, because trines are it's not quite like an absolute harmonious thing, but things are working well. It's like you are working with this energy, like between these energies of these planets, like you're working with, like sextiles offer like opportunities to work with the energy to move forward. It's almost like you have a little bit easier time when you're trying to manifest. So when Saturn is sextiled with the sun and the moon, that is offering, again, like we talked about how things are just aligning. The inner and the outer world are offering a lot of signs and synchronicities to you, because we're offering that peace and that harmony here. But it can, like I said, offer like a little bit of tension, because Saturn is just in Pisces. There's just, in general, just all year round, this energy of, this challenge of how do we bring discipline to our dreams? How do we make our dreams concrete? How do we, because Pisces does deal a lot with Neptune as well. How do we bring our heaven to earth? Or these things that we've been dreaming about, these things that we've been head up in the clouds about, that like our imagination has been constructing. How do we connect with these in a more disciplined material way? How do we bring this down to earth? How do we make it physical? And Saturn is a disciplined force towards that. This is a great time for spiritual healers to undergo their change, this build their businesses. I do feel like this is a very good time, for like spiritual people to connect with their intuition and to like develop those habits, especially with needing discipline behind it. So things like if you have a goal of meditating every day, or if you want to improve your I think like mediumship abilities is actually a very important thing around this time too. Mediumship abilities and psychic communication, if you are trying to learn those things, and if you were trying to expand on those things, especially because we're in the third house right now with Saturn in Pisces, falling into that third house, at least the particular time that I pulled in this chart, this energy lasts. Like I said, this offers a good direction for leading into the full moon 2 weeks from now. The third house does deal with vocal, learning the words associated with mediumship and psychic, learning how to translate, to interpret. Third house is the messenger. Any type of communications, third house deals with it, right? Short distance, siblings, but for specifically what's coming through is communication. So learning the communication, learning how to communicate that discipline, learning how to communicate that restructuring that's needed in order to fall into your imaginative play, in order to connect with your intuition, to connect with yourself on a more spiritual level. Right. So those are the types of things that are those are types of things that are being called into our energy at this time. And I also want to talk about Chiron because we do have another aspect being highlighted here with Mercury. So interesting that that's the next thing that pulled up because the third house and Mercury share similar things. But the Mercury is the messenger. The Mercury does deal with our communication, our voice, our throat chakra specifically, because that's where most of our expression comes out. This is a great time to share messages, to talk, to express ourselves in some way, especially with Chiron being conjunction. So Chiron deals with a lot of the hurts we might have experienced in our life. So this is a very good time to put our healing to paper or put our healing journey out there for others. If you feel safe to do so, to share that. And even in spaces, because like I feel like it's more like intuitively what's coming through is sharing yourself, because they're important things to draw. There's like closure to be had by sharing what's hurt you. Like Chiron is the wounded healer. So a lot of times these are just the things that, you know, these are basically our traumatic stories, or these stories that sit with us that make us like, that not make us feel certain ways, but things that we are hurt by that we carry with us in our energy that we are meant to heal in this lifetime. A big part of your healing journey, we are always being hurt and healing in this lifetime, but there is something specific that's being channeled through. And while I don't know what that specific thing is, it's a specific type of energy that might only apply to some of you, but Spirit wants you to share your healing journey. Whether you have just finished your healing journey, whether it is, you know, something that you feel like you're getting a good grasp on and you now feel ready to share it with the world, either on social media or like I'm hearing putting it in print. So putting it like in a book form or like something. There's something that they keep saying, put it in print, put it in print. So this is a very good time to do that, because there's like, they're giving me an image of something like sinking together, something clinching together. It's almost like a wound healing up, like finishing, like stitching up together, and or something giving closure. So something that has been, you've been healing for a while, sharing that brings so much light. Like other people will see that and feel seen by that, and it gives a sense of closure or a sense of finally stitching up the rest of that wound. But there's some type of closure or some type of cinching up the wound to be had here, which is why that is energy that, you know, especially with conjunction, like when you're in conjunction, these are two energies, two different energies working together. And I don't know why, but like I'm talking about this, and then like Lilith and Neptune are like coming out at me again. And I can't remember because, like, honestly, when I read and when I channel, it's in one ear and out the other. But when we talk about the opposition, like I said, this is that struggle to bring your dreams down. So it's just learning. And again, Lilith has a lot of trines and peace associated with it, but we're having trouble bringing those dreams down. So it's just, that might actually be, so Spirit's actually drawing attention to that, because that might actually be one of your dreams, is to write something or to share parts of yourself in print or share parts of yourself with the world. That might actually be one of your dreams, is to like be a novelist or be like a content creator or be to share, express yourself through art. Like there's something about a dream and expressing yourself, and that might be one of the things that you're struggling to bring down to earth, or like that you might be struggling to try to find pathways to. And again, I only see one opposition with Lilith and Neptune, but I see trines for like all the other shadow aspects. So this is literally just having trouble bringing down. It offers like a sense of ease. It doesn't feel like it's an absolute like difficult thing to do. Like there are opportunities presented to you. Some of them might not feel like a way to bring your path down. Some of them might not seem like the direct path that you're thinking of. But again, Spirit wants you to be accepting and open to opportunities, because even though that opposition is there and there might be a struggle to bring it down, there's still an ease or a comfort that surrounds that energy for whatever reason. So I do feel like this is just from the chart, it does feel like this is this might be like an easier time. I don't want to say easier time, but you might have been coming out of a challenging time. This does feel kind of like a harmonious, or opportunities for harmonious energies for these next 2 weeks. But as we are transitioning to the sign of Gemini here over the next, as we are finishing up here in the next month, just again, staying present, keeping in touch with that. Let me see if there's anything else to be mentioned. I'm going to look at the aspects one more time and see what else we have going on here. I think that was mainly it. I do want to make sure we covered everything that seems to be just blaring in my face. We talked about Lilith, thank God, because that was like in my face, like, that's a big part of the reading. Interesting. Mars and the North Node, again, I just feel like this is great energy because you have Mars, which is very like aggressive and passionate and having a lot of energy and motivation. And the fact that the North Node is pretty close to it, again, these planets being close to one another, I'm hearing like something about fulfilling obligations. So some of you have obligations maybe to like parents, loved ones. You could be finishing up something and you are moving on to the next thing, you're moving on to the next step. But there's something here with Mars saying like barreling towards your dreams in some way or taking strong, dedicated, willful action, specifically towards your dreams because Aries is that new, fresh beginning. And this is in the third house, which is communication. So something about the way that you are using your words. So this is falling in how you speak. Because this is like how you communicate with others being the third house. But when we have Aries, Mars, and the North Node together, North Node is our North Star. That's where we're going. Those are the lessons that we need to learn in life. That's like the path that we want to take. Maybe not exactly in the steps that we lay out for ourselves, but our North Node, our North Star, basically not like the treasures that we're seeking. There is something being channeled about the treasures that we're seeking. This could be like you could dream of being financially wealthy or financially comfortable in some way, or just feeling abundant or wanting abundance in some form. But Mars is actively taking steps towards that. So especially when paired with Aries, this is that new passionate energy. When Aries and Mars are in there, fire energy, boom. And with the North Node being close and tightly packed in there, that just is an amazing sign for like this is just the energy for moving forward. It's like I'm hearing spirit says we'll cater to you. So they might not again do exactly what you want, but it's almost like again there's this peace and harmony. Things are linked up and aligned, and this is a powerful time to basically take all of this will and this fire energy and move towards whatever that North Star is for you. And it is showing in the words that you use. So advocating yourself is incredibly important. Fighting for what you are worth. That does fall into the like the Virgo sign, the 6th house. There's not really too much sitting in the 6th house at this moment. But it does deal with that Virgo energy, that exchange of give and take. So watching the words that you use and making sure you are advocating for what you are worth. Make sure that you are taking on like financial obligations or like whatever your next step is. Make sure that is what you are worth. And make sure you are speaking that way. Make sure that you are using words that and I'm here, use your intuition for it. Make sure that you're using words that promote your growth. Even if it seems ridiculous to other people, the right opportunities will come if you say no to the things that like do not fit with what you want. Like it doesn't have to be exact. Again, Spirit's asking for some flexibility, but focusing on one particular point and saying, this is what I want. These are like the parameters, and then saying, offer me opportunities, please, in these parameters, and then manifesting that. But I see you working like, again, Mars, Aries, like when these two are paired together, very forward, fiery movement, can be very fast too. So just watch you don't burn out. That's all I have to say about that. But sometimes, like I say, there is an energy sometimes where it is okay to just barrel forward and use that energy. We're human. I think balance is a myth. Like, I do think that there are times where we do feel that things are happening, things are aligned, we feel very cool, peace, harmonious, like we have all of our ducks in order in all of our areas of life, but I do feel like sometimes it's very short-lived. Like, you know, if you're constantly trying to keep your balance, I feel like we don't have any forward momentum. We can, but I feel like sometimes in order to make our dreams happen, we sometimes just have to like just dive into like, you know, working extremely hard for something. Like push yourself if you want. Try not to burn out. I will never encourage burnout, you know, but it's just a really good energy. You may feel extra motivated this time. You may feel extra inspiration towards your dreams. You may want to put extra hours towards your goals and your visions, right? So that being said, I think those are the major parts of the chart that I wanted to talk about. Those are just the ones that were standing out to me the most. I think that was most of the messages that wanted to come through. I will pull some oracle cards for those of you that want like the extra guidance, the extra messages. I love this part of the reading. We're going to be going into some oracle decks, and we're going to be going into some tarot. Tarot might be a little bit hard because of where I'm sitting now, but we have some awesome decks by Kyle Gray we're going to use. So thank you, Spirit, for continuing to guide us and for offering some oracle cards for the collective on how to manage this energy for the next 2 weeks leading up to our full moon. What do we got going on here? What's happening in the stars? What are we needing to know to move forward? How can we best utilize this energy to go towards our dreams, our goals, ambitions, to lead to a better life of harmony and peace? Third eye activation, brown chakra, inner vision, clear seeing. So holy cow, did I just get a lot of like boom, 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 boom. So I'm actually going to be posting a collective reading. I'm actually going to be posting a poll here, decided as of right now. But there's something about third eye activation working with the third eye. So we talked about improving our skills with mediumship and psychic ability. So this is like a big hello, like to whoever it is that wants to do that. But this is also just like the third eye is the seat of our intuition. This is our inner knowing. So even if you are not a spiritual leader, or if you're not somebody who wants to, you know, dive into spiritual or psychic endeavors, that's totally fine. This is just connecting more to the seat of your intuition. This is that third eye type of activation thing where, again, things are aligned, you're following the synchronicities, you're experiencing the magic, your own language of the universe, because it speaks to everyone differently through like different symbols. I'm hearing like it's time. It's time. So this third eye, it's almost like your intuition is stepping forward and shining a little bit more. You might be feeling it a little bit more in your gut. You might be feeling a little bit more in your heart. You might be feeling a little bit more pressure in your third eye. But this is when your intuition is starting to shout at you a little bit more, and you're starting to understand it's almost like, so this is for a small fraction of you. Some of you are understanding some things in hindsight of why you went through everything you went through up until this point. For a lot of you, you are about to see it in a few weeks' time. So I'm seeing like 25% of you, you're recognizing things in hindsight. For 75% of you, it's like a few weeks from now, looking back, you're like, holy cow, I see why everything had to happen the way that it did. But it's almost like you need that Mars, Aries, North Node forward momentum a little bit to look back and see things in hindsight. But that third eye, it's almost like an understanding. You don't need to have all of the logic, you don't need to have all of the information, but opportunities are springing up left and right, and you are able to tune into your intuition and figure out which opportunity is best for you, right? So we have third eye activation. So I can't remember if I actually finished what I was saying because things were being channeled and I went blah, 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 word vomit. But I'm going to be posting a poll here for the next collective reading. I will be doing a pick a card in relation to May here shortly, but I do want to focus specifically on third eye stuff and like intuition and such. So watch out for that poll. Whatever we vote on is the one like going to be the next collective reading for you guys. Let's see what else we have going on. What other things do we have going on? Sacred Plan. I love this paired with the third eye activation, because Sacred Plan just indicates that things are syncing up. When I get this card, it typically means that situations are happening, sacred contracts are being either fulfilled or started, for better, or I'm not going to say for better or for worse, because it's always for the highest good, but there's something in the works. This is that some of you might be understanding that there is a plan too. Like, we know there is a plan, but to actually feel like there's a plan and to know like there is a feeling that comes with it. Sometimes we are more accepting and at peace with the fact that there is a plan when Sacred Plan comes up. This is indicative of an energy that, you know, something is moving on the other side. Something like the other side is moving energy around to where something is being offered to us, or things are taking place around us, and like we are recognizing or having this really deep knowing and understanding that things are falling into place. You don't necessarily have to see it. You don't necessarily have to know it by looking at it in the physical, but there is a deep intuitive understanding that plans are being made and something is shifting and something is happening for you. But there is a comfort and there is a certain type of divine connection here when that card comes up, okay? And it also offers reassurance, again, to those of us that are kind of lost in our Lilith energy of like stuck in the mind and having those karmic things come up again and again through the South Node. Referring back to this card and having it offer like a reassurance to you that this is all taking place for your highest good. This is totally okay. This is totally normal. Like, your life isn't going to shit. Like, you will find your way out of this if you are struggling or going through a tough time. But it's almost like Spirit wants to help you achieve your dreams. And that's just an important thing to note. It's not going to be denied to you. They're just trying to give you opportunities to get there, even if they seem kind of out of place or if it seems like it's not on the path, you know? But it's almost like you have this, it's like you're granted with this intuitive knowing through your higher self or just through yourself, like your guides too are sending you messages. There's something, some of you feel this in the heart. And again, I'm getting heart, big heart stuff for some of you guys. Some of it's third eye too. But it's like you have this knowing, this cognizant feeling of, yes, like, I know the end goal is what I want. So I'm not worried about what's coming next. Does that make sense? It's like, even though it's not 100% what you're expecting, what's coming next, you know that you're going to get to where you need to go. You also have vulnerability and freedom. So just understanding that you also have options. So you have a lot of things available to you. So the next steps, again, might not look exactly how you want to, but you have a choice. You have choices because you are manifesting things as you go. Spirit will move things around. Like, it's not just, oh, we agree to, you know, like, sometimes like people talk about how we have like blueprints for our lives when we come here. But we are constantly co-creating. We are constantly moving things around. You know, I'm pretty sure it was in my contract, for example, to have certain relationships in my life and to be very healing for them. But a big part of my life journey has been putting up boundaries and telling people no, depending on when I decided to say no and when I decided to put my foot down. That could have happened now. That could have happened later. But once I recognized that it was my choice and I had that vulnerability and freedom to decide, I do feel like some of those contracts came to an end or some of them closed. And there are other agreements being made right now, real time, as you are agreeing to things or not agreeing to things. Like, there will be other opportunities that can assist your growth, okay? Like, your soul sacred plan does not exist in a vacuum and is constantly changing. So just understand that if you feel like you're in a sacred contract with someone and you feel like you can't get out, or, oh, I'm meant to learn from this, don't fall into complacency. Just understand that you have that vulnerability, that freedom. You can choose. You know, you can choose when you incorporate these lessons. Like, and a lot of times, like, if you say goodbye before your heart has fully gotten into that lesson and you are attracted to the same thing, I'm thinking about a relationship, just as an example, but if you find yourself in a relationship you don't feel ready to leave, but you know it's not right for you, and you leave it before your heart has fully understood that, yeah, you might be attracted to the same thing later, and you might find yourself in the same situation later, but you are slowly over time building up those messages in your heart. You are slowly, like, it's, the lessons are being ingrained in you. So just trusting that eventually, like, it's being patient with yourself and trusting that you will find yourself where you need to be, but also understanding that you have a choice. What are you willing to put up with? What are you willing to agree to? It calls questions like that when you have opportunities and such being presented to you. What are you willing to go with? So again, flexibility with certain things, but also acknowledging that, like, you know, you have a choice. Like, you obviously can't have like the perfect thing all of the time sometimes, but this is where that inner knowing comes in. So it's like, if you want to bring I don't know, if you want to bring your dreams to fruition, but it's not going to happen immediately, that's not something you can just demand. Sometimes it just doesn't happen immediately, and that's okay. You might have to take other opportunities in the interim while your dreams are manifesting, and that's okay. That's going to be the flexibility that Spirit asks you. And then you can put parameters up and say, hey, these are the opportunities. I want to be a little bit flexible here and say these are the opportunities that I'm willing to accept, but anything below this, anything that this could have been opportunities that I've accepted before, I will not do those things. I will not accept that hourly or salary rate. I will not accept these types of people in my energy circle. I will not accept, certain things, but focus on the things that you will accept. Just make sure that it is, not accepting old energies. I feel like you won't be accepting old energies. That's not really where the energy or the vibe is. But just keep in mind that's where the growth happens, right? So we have anything else that we're going to encounter? Any other blessings? I'm pulling from the Phantom Wise Tarot. We have the Wheel of Fortune. Oh my gosh. I'm hearing discuss possibilities, because the Wheel of Fortune, yes, this is the paradox that we were just talking about. So I'm so sacred contracts being forever changing. This is one of those things where people talk about the Wheel of Fortune being fate, quote unquote. Fate, so things that we came here to do, things like sacred contracts that we have, things with other people that we've agreed to, our learning and our growth, right? But the Wheel of Fortune also, talks about the energy that we put into a situation is the energy that we get out of a situation. So this does call into question oftentimes the fate versus free will thing. When you come to my channel, we are very into co-creating. We are very into empowering the collective. So just keeping this in mind, I always interpret the Wheel of Fortune as, yes, sacred contracts are here and available, but those can be altered and changed as time goes on. And it depends on how willingly your heart wants to. So you can make the choice outwardly, but what does your heart want? So focusing on your heart will know whether to pursue an opportunity for its growth or whether not to. It's not so much as the emotions, though sometimes intuition does speak through emotions. But it is that inner knowing. In spaces of calm and peace, that inner knowing becomes stronger so that we can see things for what they are. In this Wheel of Fortune, we are being presented with those opportunities, those spaces to connect with our intuition more. So, and I feel like some of you, there's an outline. It's a rough outline, but I feel like for some of you, you're able to see that rough outline a little bit more. And it's almost like you're communicating with your guides as to how you want this next phase to look. And it's how do I want... I know that, this feels more likely, or this feels like where the energy is, but maybe I want things to look like this. Can we shift the energy? And then you shift the energy that way. It might be a little bit of work, and it might be a little bit of moving around on your part, but it given the astrological energies in the air, it almost seems like things are you're accepting things that you cannot change, but you are focusing on the things that you can, and focusing on a long-term aspect. So that being said, we also have, we have the Knight of Pentacles reverse, which is interesting because I don't typically work with reverse. So the Knight of Pentacles upright talks about, I'm hearing sharing what you know. So the Knight of Pentacles is adventuring, it's starting something. When it's reversed, and the way that it's kind of coming across is that you're done learning. You're done going out and planting yourself in different environments and learning what's best for you. It's time to take action and settle in on the ground. You already know where you're meant to be. You already know where you're meant to go. And this is Spirit literally saying, plop your butt down in a plot of land because you already planted seeds in lots of different locations. You know your options now. Now it's just a matter of planting yourself. And a lot of you, I'm hearing sharing yourself. Share what you know. Share what you have. There's no more exploring. There's no more and I mean, there will be a time to explore again, but for now, it is a time to anchor yourself and take action and be this is what I'm growing right now. This is what I'm going to take the time to create and cultivate. And that's what the Knight of Pentacles reversed is telling us here. The Five of Swords, what's also being channeled through with the Five of Swords, it indicates outwardly tensions with other people, which is interesting because I said we were in a peaceful and harmonious time. With the Five of Swords here, excuse me, I do feel other people's positions might be a little bit different. So it's not so much as they don't agree. It's just so much as that, I mean, it is a lack of agreement because they don't understand. Does that make sense? So if you do have any areas of tension with other people, there could be areas of competition, but I can't help but feel like competition is something that you can just ignore, because if you are shining and putting your best foot forward and doing your absolute best, it doesn't really matter what everybody else is, because you don't want to focus any type of energy on anybody else that's bringing you tension. So if there are areas of tension right now, separating that from that just momentarily to protect your peace until, and you can handle it however you want, however you choose. But when you have these areas of tension, it's just an acceptance and an understanding that the other person, they just might be caught in, I'm hearing the word complacency. They might actually be complacent. Hang on. I have a ferret that is requesting to come into the room, so I'm going to go let him in. Hi, Coda. Do you want to come say hi? Come here. You guys get to meet my other ferret, Coda. You haven't seen him already. He was like, Mom, why'd you lock me out of the room? Thank you for asking to come in, though. He just wants to sleep. He hears my voice in here, and he's like, you were not spending time with me. But as I was saying, the Five of Swords, I do feel like if there are areas or there are areas of tension in your life, or there are people who are trying to present this tension, just removing yourself from them for now, or gaining some type of emotional distance just so you can keep your peace. Ooh, careful, baby. Just so you can keep your peace. I think that would be, for whatever reason, I just can't help but feel like this is an energy that you would be engaging in, or you would indulge in engaging in. So, Coda, come here. He wants to dig at the door. I'm gonna let him do it. I'm gonna let him do it. I was like, because it's not gonna be nearly as loud, I don't think. I'm just gonna grab him. We'll talk. Sorry about that, guys. He's having a moment. Okay. You're just going to be with Mommy for a little bit, okay? How about that? Can I put you in here? Can I pet you in here? This is their little beetle bed. I call it their beetle bed. But other than that, I think that was all that was kind of channeled through with that. Just separating yourself from those tension energies, because it's mainly just either they're stuck in their own complacency, or they just don't, they're coming from a different perspective. They don't understand. Like I specifically, the phrase that came through with it was they're from a different position. So that being said, that was your Oracle and Tarot reading. Thank you for joining me for this astrology read. I really do appreciate you spending the time with me, and for looking through the aspects of the chart. I do post these intuitive astrology videos every 2 weeks, so around the new moon and full moon, that's the energy that I pull from. And then we do a little Oracle Tarot card pull at the end, as we just did. I also post weeklies for the signs, and then I post collectives in between. I will have a poll coming up. Talking about, like, I'm going to meditate on this more and see what the options are, but we will be doing a collective reading based on third eye stuff, and like psychic gifts or something. But there needs to be something coming out for that. Because I just got like an immediate like, this needs to be the next message. So, I also have an Instagram, so I post on Instagram and Facebook, kind of the same thing. So if you want to learn tarot, I talk about each individual tarot card. And also, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, I am doing events in the Pittsburgh area, so keep an eye out for that. Go drop a follow. If you're around, or if you wanted to come visit and say hi. I think I have a vendor fair coming up. It's actually a psychic fair, so I'm very excited about it. But I also do pop-up events throughout the city as well, so keep an eye out for that if you are in the area. And I also offer personal readings, so follow my website, link down below, if you wanted a one-on-one with me. And then we can look specifically if you want it. I don't offer astrology chart readings now, but I do psychic channeling, and I also do tarot and oracle. So that being said, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Love you, love you, love you. Bye.